Some glances pass like air, invisible, weightless, gone. But some, they land deep. They stay. They stain. Mine came from someone I should have never looked back at. Not my husband. My stepson. It started with that look, soft, steady, almost unsure. And I held it too long. I knew the second I did, something shifted. It didn't begin with touch. Or words. It began with silence. With needing to be seen. I'd been invisible in my own home for years. Folding clothes no one noticed. Making dinner no one thanked me for. Sleeping beside a man who forgot how to reach for me. Then he walked in. 18. Quiet. Different. And he looked at me like I still mattered. That look, it did something. I didn't plan it. Didn't want it. But when you're starved, even a moment of warmth feels like love. Some things you don't plan. You don't even resist. You just wish. And that wish becomes a weight you carry. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. Because some stories are too complicated to judge, but too human to ignore. I've been married 10 years. Not all of it was silence, but the silence is what stuck. We live in a quiet neighborhood, clean hedges, smiling neighbors, weekend barbecues no one really enjoys. Behind our door, it's even quieter. My husband, he used to touch my lower back when I cooked. He used to ask how my day was, really ask. Now he nods from across the room and keeps scrolling. Work emails. News alerts. Fantasy football. Everything but me. Some nights, we lie in the same bed, and I swear the distance between us feels like a hallway. He doesn't yell. He doesn't cheat. He just forgets I'm there. And somehow, that feels worse. Then Eli came home. 19. College freshman. His mother lives across the country, and this summer, he decided to stay with us. I wasn't expecting him to look so grown. His voice, his shoulders, the way he carried himself. But more than anything, it was his stillness. He watched everything, not in a creepy way. In a way that said, he noticed things other people missed. At first, it was little things. He'd rinse his dish without being asked. Say thank you for dinner when my husband wouldn't even look up from his laptop. He asked me what I was reading. No one asks me that anymore. And I started to feel it, his presence filling spaces my husband used to fill. Not with anything inappropriate. Just attention. Warmth. The kind that makes you stand up a little straighter when you enter a room. I began hearing his footsteps more than my husband's voice. I began wondering what shirt he'd wear the next day. I began making his favorite pasta twice a week, telling myself it was just convenience. But deep down, I knew. I was starting to notice him. Not just as my stepson, but as the only person in the house who still saw me. And that terrified me. Because when someone sees you, really sees you, it's hard not to look back. It was a Thursday night. I remember because Thursdays used to be our date nights. Used to be. Now, they're just leftovers and two people scrolling in different rooms. I tried. I walked into the living room and asked him, "Wanna watch something together? Just unwind a bit." He didn't even look up. Too tired. Maybe later, he mumbled, eyes still locked on his screen. I stood there for a second, holding the remote like it meant something. Then I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Eli. Fresh out of the shower. T-shirt, soft gray. Hair still damp. He looked surprised to see me standing there like I was waiting for something. I laughed, awkward. Thought I'd put on a movie. Kill the silence a little. He smiled. Need company? I should have said no, but I nodded instead. He sat down on the other end of the couch. Not too close. Not too far. I didn't pick anything risky, just an indie drama I remembered liking years ago. Artsy. Quiet. Safe. But I forgot about that scene. You know the kind. Slow, breathy. Two people locked in a stare just before the kiss. Fingers tracing skin. Mouths hovering. Music swelling. I felt my breath hitch. I reached for the remote, half-heartedly. But I didn't press pause. I could feel his stillness beside me. Not stiff. Just present. I glanced over, just a flicker, and caught him watching. Not the screen. Me. And I didn't look away. Not right away. My heart was loud. Not racing. Just loud. Like it was reminding me I still had one. He blinked first. Looked back at the screen. But the moment stayed. I should have turned it off. I didn't. I used to be the kind of woman who walked into a room and knew. Knew when eyes lingered. Knew when a glance meant something. Back then, I didn't need anyone to tell me I was beautiful. I felt it. Now I lean in closer to mirrors with good lighting. Tilt my face this way and that. Pull at the skin near my jaw. Run a finger over the lines near my eyes like they don't belong to me. I don't feel old. But I don't feel seen either. My husband used to trace my collarbone like it was his favorite sentence. Now, he barely kisses my forehead when he leaves for work. And when he does, it feels like habit. Not affection. Not choice. It's not like I blame him. Not entirely. Life happens. Bills, deadlines, routines. But somewhere in the middle of all that, he stopped looking at me. And Eli hasn't even said anything. He hasn't touched me. Hasn't crossed a single line. But it's in the way he notices when I change my earrings. The way he hands me a cup of tea before I ask. The way he listens when I speak like my words deserve space. It's dangerous, I know. But it's also gentle. And after so long without warmth, gentle feels like gold. I keep telling myself, it's just attention. That's all. Just a flicker of longing, a need to feel wanted, a hunger to matter to someone. But there's something else I've started doing, something small. I linger in the hallway mirror after I brush my hair. I pause. Study myself like I'm searching for the version he sees, the one I stopped recognizing years ago. And the strangest part? Sometimes I feel like I'm not the only one staring, like there's another set of eyes, soft, quiet, waiting, watching from just beyond the reflection. It's not lust. It's not love. It's the ache in between. The kind that whispers. Would it really be so wrong just to be seen again? The changes were quiet. Soft enough to ignore if I wanted to. But I didn't want to. It started with breakfast. Just the two of us, while my husband rushed out the door with his phone glued to his palm. Eli would sit across from me, not saying much, just present. He'd ask if I slept okay. Offer to make eggs. Once, he handed me a napkin before I even reached for one. It sounds so small, I know. But when someone notices you before you notice yourself, it does something. Then came the little things. He fixed the loose drawer that had been sticking for months. Changed a light bulb before I even asked. He'd stand beside me while I chopped vegetables, humming softly to music I didn't think anyone his age listened to. I caught myself humming too. And the way he smiled, not wide, not bold, just enough to feel personal. Like we were in on something quiet. One afternoon, I was making tea. The sunlight spilled through the window, hitting the counter just right. He walked in, barefoot, shirt a little wrinkled from whatever nap he'd just taken. I stepped aside to let him pass. He reached for a glass. And our hands touched. It should have been nothing. A brush. A blink. But it wasn't. His fingers grazed mine. They didn't pull away right away. And neither did I. It lasted maybe 2 seconds. But in those 2 seconds, I felt everything I'd forgotten. Warmth, tension, awareness. Desire, not for sex, but for closeness. I stepped back. Laughed it off. Sorry, I whispered. He nodded. But neither of us looked at each other. That night, I poured a glass of wine. And stared at the rim. A hairline crack I hadn't noticed before curved across the side. I knew I should throw it away. But I didn't. I just kept drinking from it. Carefully. Like maybe it wouldn't break if I was gentle enough. That's what it felt like. Whatever was happening between me and Eli, it was fragile. Unspoken. Wrong. But it was there. I told myself he didn't mean it. He was just tired, distracted, innocent. But deep down, part of me, a part I'm not proud of, hoped he did. The rain had started around noon. By evening, it had swallowed the sky. One of those heavy storms that seems to press down on the house, like the world wants to fold in on itself. My husband had flown out that morning, conference in Chicago. Gone for 3 days. He barely said goodbye. Just a quick pat on my shoulder and a reminder to check the mail. The silence felt louder with him gone. But somehow, not emptier. I made dinner. Eli came down late, hoodie over his head, rubbing sleep from his eyes. We ate quietly, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel awkward anymore, just familiar. Then the lights went out. A crack of thunder, a flicker, and everything went dark. I stood frozen for a second, the rain tapping against the windows like fingers. Eli lit a candle in the kitchen. Then another. Then another. He brought one into the living room, set it on the coffee table, and sat down. I joined him, our faces lit only by flickering orange. No phones, no distractions. Just breath. And distance slowly shrinking. We didn't speak for a long time. Just sat there, listening to the storm. Then he said it. Soft, like he'd been holding it in for a while. Do you ever feel like no one sees you? I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the candle between us. The way the flame danced like it was nervous too. Then I nodded. He looked down at his hands, then back at me, and whispered, I do. I felt something crack inside me. Not loudly, just a soft split, like a thread pulled too tight for too long. He reached out. Slow, uncertain, but honest. His fingers brushed my cheek. They were warm, steady, and I didn't pull away. I should have. God, I should have. But I didn't. His thumb moved gently, just once, beneath my eye. As if he was trying to memorize the sadness there. Then the kiss. Brief, desperate, confusing. It didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like drowning. Like taking a breath after being underwater too long only to realize the air still hurts. I pulled back. Fast. Heart pounding. Shame already crawling up my spine. He didn't chase me. He just whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't answer. I stood up, numb. Walked up the stairs like the floor might collapse. In my room, I locked the door. Pressed my back against it. Sank to the floor. And sat there. For I don't know how long. I locked the door. But not the thought. The next morning, the rain was gone. But the silence, it stayed. I came downstairs before Eli. Made coffee like I always do. But my hands were trembling. I kept spilling the sugar, wiping it with shaking fingers. He entered the kitchen 20 minutes later. Didn't say anything. Didn't meet my eyes. He just grabbed a mug, poured coffee, and stood by the sink. I wanted to say something, anything. But what do you say when the thing you never thought would happen already has? We ate breakfast like strangers. The clinking of spoons and the ticking of the kitchen clock were the only sounds between us. I couldn't swallow properly. The toast felt dry. The coffee tasted cold. Afterward, he disappeared into his room. Later that day, he left the house without telling me where he was going. He didn't come back until after dark. And that pattern began. Each day a little quieter, each glance avoided just a little longer. He started going out more. Late walks, grocery runs, library trips he never used to take. And me? I felt sick. Not just with guilt, but with craving. I hated myself for it. But I missed him. Not the kiss. Not the moment. I missed the before. The way he noticed me. The way his presence filled the spaces my husband left behind. I missed being seen. Then my husband came home. Jet-lagged. Exhausted. But unusually soft. He hugged me, really hugged me, for the first time in weeks. Kissed the top of my head like he remembered who I was. Told me the trip made him realize how much he'd been zoned out lately. I should have felt relief. I should have melted into him. Instead, I flinched. Not enough for him to notice, but enough for me to feel it. Later that night, he touched my waist in bed. And I froze. Not because I didn't want to be touched, but because I realized his touch felt like something borrowed. Like it came too late. And the worst part? The one person who noticed I'd changed was the one who should never have. I didn't plan it. Not for a second. Not even in my loneliest moments did I ever imagine that. But something inside me, something quiet and aching and half alive, wanted to be wanted. Even if it was wrong. Even if it would break something I couldn't fix. And now, all I can do is replay it. That night. That look. That kiss. Over and over like a punishment I've chosen. I wonder what he thinks of me now. Eli. Does he feel ashamed? Angry? Used? Did I make him carry something he wasn't ready for? Was I just another adult who blurred the lines and walked away before cleaning the mess? Or worse, did he feel what I felt? That scares me more. Because if he did, if even a part of him felt the same quiet hunger, then I didn't just fail myself. I failed him. I haven't seen that softness in his eyes since. Just distance. Careful politeness. And silence heavy enough to choke on. I want to reach out. To say, I'm sorry. You didn't do anything wrong. But I don't know if it would help or hurt him more. I keep wondering how something so small, a look, a touch, a moment, could leave this kind of wreckage. But maybe that's the thing about loneliness. It doesn't need much. A glance. A quiet room. One person too empty, and another just open enough to pour into. We didn't fall in love. We fell into each other's emptiness. And now I'm left with the echo. Not of what we did, but of why we let it happen. And how I'll never be able to unfeel it. Have you ever crossed a line? Not because you wanted more, but because you couldn't carry the emptiness anymore? Not out of lust. Not out of thrill. But out of that quiet, awful ache of being unseen for too long? Would you have stopped it? Or would you have wished it never stopped? I don't need your judgment. I've already judged myself in every mirror, every sleepless night, every second I've sat across from a boy who now avoids my eyes. I'm not asking for pity. I'm asking something simpler. Something real. Have you ever felt this hollow? Tell me. Even